The sun is shining, we have blue skies and chilly temperatures, so I've decided the time is right to finally get on with planting my last batch of tulips. Now, if you're a gardening novice like me, or perhaps you've got more gardening experience and would be happy to share your expertise in the comments, why don't you consider subscribing to my channel? All that means is you need to click the big red button that says subscribe, and next time you open the YouTube app on your phone, your laptop or your computer, one of my videos will be waiting for you. So I don't know whether you watched the video that I filmed right at the beginning of November when I struggled with the manual act of planting my tulips. It turned out from the comments there were two problems with when I planted my tulips. It wasn't sufficiently cold, and probably in all likelihood I hadn't planted my tulips deeply enough in order to guarantee as much as you can that they would flower from year to year. So that's my project for today's video. I'm going to dig a very large hole, and I'm also going to put my dahlias to bed for the winter. I am not going to be lifting my dahlia tubers. I spotted one of my friends on their Instagram stories putting their dahlias to bed, and they were very kindly shared with me what they did and why they did it. So watch on to the end of the video and I will share those secrets with you. So what is the secret to planting tulip bulbs? I've been told that you need to look out for regular temperatures of 7 degrees centigrade, and also to be planting my tulips 20 centimetres deep. So I'm working on the basis of 24/7, just to remember it a little bit easier. So I'm now just trying to work out, is this hole deep enough? And I think it is, so I'm going to carry on and dig a whole trench and just get on with it in one fell swoop. One trench dug. I had visions it was going to be about 3 times the size of this, but look, 20 centimetres deep. So my random mix of super perennial tulips, 90 bulbs. I wonder how many I'm going to get in here. I think I'm going to have to dig 2 or 3 more trenches at this rate. Perhaps though I'm going to take my own advice and just do little and often, so it doesn't get to be too much of a bind. So I'm putting these flat bottoms down, pointed side up. Oh, I've got a little bit of growth there. And just hoping that perhaps when they grow, they're not actually going to look like they're in a dead straight line. Who knows though? I'll have to embrace the allotment look. That one doesn't look very healthy. Should I plant it anyway? No. What do we think? Oh, it looks all right underneath. Oh, that one's definitely gone pappy. Oh, I've got 2 duds. Not quite sure about that one. That one there just disintegrated in my hand. What do you reckon? I think that makes me look like a proper professional gardener. Although I will tell you that my husband's just come out to say hello and find out what I'm doing. And he says he's never seen anybody plant tulips like this before. So I've told him to watch and learn. Next stage, put that pile of soil back over the top and tread them in. Dahlias next. How many did I plant? 6. So I'm going to take off the spent foliage. Just push back the leaves so I can see where the plants are. Oh, here. Oh, no. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Must have only planted 4. Then I'll mulch them with some well-rotted compost from our compost heap, which must be several years old now. And cover them with a flower pot. So I'm protecting them from the cold with the extra mulch and just making sure they don't get too wet by putting a little flower pot hat on them. Which I'm going to pin down in place using some garden canes. This is an arched one I found in the shed. I wonder if I can get 2 for 1. Yes, doesn't that look nice and garden-like? Makes it look like I know what I'm doing. I guess if I push the leaves back over the top, that will help them stay warm over winter too. Still picking up loads of rubbish out of the beds. Bit of a plastic flower pot there. Well, that looks rather professional, if I say so myself. If you're a dahlia expert, let me know what you're doing with your dahlias to overwinter them. You can see how awful I am at digging. I just cannot face digging up tubers and replanting tubers next year. So I'm going for the easy option. But I guess we'll just have to see whether I get some new growth next year, or perhaps by being a little bit lazy, I've wasted the money that I've invested in this year's dahlias. So having put my dahlias to bed, I think I remember the advice for the nerines, and that was to mulch them over the winter time. So I think I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the nerines, and I can see that the foliage has died back on my oriental lilies as well. So I'm going to cut those back and mulch this area and then cover them with plant pots to keep the rain off them, but also to remind me where I planted them. So the lilies have lost all their foliage. Got those back. I know there were 4 of those. And I think there were 3 nerines. Can't quite remember now. think I've lost a Noreen. Can you break a garden cane? Ugh. Well, it's certainly nice to be back inside in the warm, and I thought perhaps you might like an update on those amaryllis that I planted into my charity shop bowl last week. They've grown quite a bit, but as they're growing, quite naturally, they're moving towards the light. So I have been turning the bulb round, but I've also made myself a little DIY plant support. And I thought perhaps if you're growing amaryllis this festive season and you've got that problem of the stems bending over towards the light, even though you try and rotate your bowl, I can show you a really quick way to make yourself a little amaryllis support so you don't have to go out and buy one. Now, rather annoyingly, I have got some specialist floristry wires where you wouldn't expect less. I am the florist that teaches, but I reckon if you found yourself a flimsy, cheap dry cleaner's wire and straightened it out, you could do exactly the same thing. I've got a pair of pliers here, and don't worry, I'm not going to curl my wires using the pliers, but you just might find it easier if you start your curve off with the pliers. And so I've created a little hooked end with my pliers. It just means that if you do that first, it gives you a much more professional finish. And then you need to choose something that's going to be wide enough to go over your bulb's head. So I'm going to use a kitchen broom for that. So you take your wire, hook it over the broom handle, and then wrap it around, probably 3, perhaps 4 times, and then slide it off. And you'll end up with something like this. So you can adjust the springs if you want to, stretch them out a little bit. And then slide them over your bulb heads, just being really gentle and not damaging the bulb. And place the end of the wire into your compost. So you end up with these slimline supports with that little spiral detail, which will help hold your amaryllis upright, although it's not a total substitute for continuing to twist them round, the pot round each day. That's a better shot. You can see exactly what I mean there. Nice bit of spiral detail. And then the ends are stuck down into the compost. What I like to do every morning is just twist the bowl of amaryllis round a little bit so it gets an even amount of light from all directions. And I've literally been in the garden for about 20 minutes and my enthusiasm and appetite to continue has just diminished. But at least I probably got a third of my tulips planted. There were 90 in the pack. I'm hoping I've planted 30. And the next plan is to dig another trough and hopefully I'll be slightly less impeded with where I was. I did dig up a couple of mini paving stones from where we had our tortoise enclosure, but I'm thinking if next time I dig over there, hopefully if I just do one big trough, it will get slightly easier, but I'm not going to do that today. It'll be a job for a couple of days' time when my enthusiasm levels are sky high again. That's all from me for now, and I'll see you again next week.